gardeners. I'm Trisha. Here's Bowie. Where is Bowie's head? Where? There she is. So today we're gonna do a video on behaviors from Brazilian rainbow boas that you may not be familiar with, or you may already know, but it's just gonna be a recap. Maybe you'll learn something new. A lot of people are interested in Brazilian rainbow boas because, well, they are absolutely amazing. They're stunning and they are great pets, and yeah, they're very highly desired because of how cool they are, and of course their iridescence and their color, and they're just absolutely stunning animals. But they're not for everyone and they can be very challenging. So I figured it's time for an updated Brazilian rainbow boa video. I know you guys are always asking to see Bowie. So we are going to go over some of their behaviors that I have noticed from Bowie in captivity to give you a better idea of what it is like to keep one as a pet. I hope that this will be helpful, and I'm gonna put her back because, as you can see, she's fairly active. And it's going to be hard to film while holding her, and she's most likely going to end up like in my plant or something. So I'm going to go ahead and put her back and we will get started. Okay, so the first behavior that I'm going to go over, I've talked about plenty on my channel, but if you're new and you're not aware, everyone should be aware of this, especially if they want to get one. Because a lot of the times when you're getting one, you're going to go to a breeder and you're going to get yourself a baby, and the babies are extremely nippy. And a lot of people are not going to enjoy that. I myself wouldn't enjoy that. And when I got Bowie, it was like when I was becoming comfortable with snakes, and she was just always chill. She's never struck at me, and that's literally why I got her, because I saw her at a pet store and the employee was like walking around with her and she was chill, and I was like, you know what, that's what I want from a snake. So that's why I got her. But that's not going to be the case for everyone, because most generally speaking, the babies are going to be extremely nippy, and it's due to just being a baby that's defensive, or they're also just very hungry. So they can calm down pretty quickly. However, each one is going to have its own personality, preferences, and tolerance level. And some of them will just kind of always be nippy, or it may just take way more work than others, while it seems like a majority of them do calm down quickly with handling over time. So it really just depends. So it's something to be aware of, because you can't just think like, oh, I'm gonna get this snake and it's gonna be completely fine, because with Brazilian rainbow boas, that's absolutely not a guarantee, and the babies are just known to be very, very nippy. The second behavior is another one regarding babies. It's that the babies tend to be a little bit more active than the adults. So you will notice them climbing and going through their enclosure way more than an adult. Adults will typically just sleep during the day and you'll see them out at nighttime. Babies you'll just see way more frequently, and they will utilize whatever space that you give them. So a lot of people get worried and they don't want to give their baby Brazilian rainbow boa a lot of space because they think it'll stress them out. It won't stress them out so long as you obviously give them the correct temperature, humidity, all of that, and then tons of hiding places, things to climb on, and foliage for them to hide in as well. They will be set to go. You can literally upgrade them to whatever adult size you plan on getting them right away as a baby, as long as they feel safe and secure in that setup, and they will utilize it because they're going to be very, very active snakes. Over time, they will calm down and be a little bit less active, but that's just completely normal. Number 3 is that Brazilian rainbow boas are semi-arboreal, meaning that they do love to climb. So it's important when you are taking one in to realize that you're not only going to need to be giving them a lot of like length and width for them to climb around and explore, but they're also going to need some height component as well, because they do like to climb. So I would recommend for an adult Brazilian rainbow boa, the absolute minimum would be a 4x2x2 enclosure that gives them 2 feet of climbing height. If you do go to Zen Habitats, what I really love is that they offer extension kits. So eventually I want to connect another 4x2x2 to my current one, and then I'll have an 8x2x2 for Bowie. They also have 4x2x4s. So if you want to give your boa even more height to climb, you can do that. And then there's extension kits for 4x2x4s as well. So you can end up like connecting 2 of them and give your Brazilian rainbow boa an 8x2x4 setup, which would be extremely spacious, but they will utilize it. So they love to climb. If you see them in the wild, a lot of the times when you see photography of these guys in the wild, you see them coiled around trees. And it's because they're semi-arboreal and they love to climb. They're either burrowing or they're going to be up in the trees. So it's very important when you own them to make sure that you are offering a lot of height and things for them to climb on, because they definitely will utilize it. And it's perfect for enrichment. It's good for their muscles. It's good for their brains to let them do things and explore. So it's just everything that they need. They need to be climbing. Number 4 is one that I thought was very odd. And it is soaking in water bowls. So snakes do this from time to time. A lot of the time you'll notice they do it before they shed, because it really does help loosen up that skin and it helps them shed it off. Brazilian rainbow boas, it doesn't seem like mine does it in particular when she's about to shed. Her humidity is already high as it is, so she never really has an issue with shedding. But here and there, I will notice she'll just have some days where she just wants to have a spa day and she will just be in her water bowl. And they're like little mini anacondas. They are closely related to anacondas, so I feel like it's a similar behavior. I'm actually curious to know if they swim at all in the wild. That's something that I'm gonna have to look into, because it might be a good idea, I think, to give, if you have a lot of space, to give them a pretty big water area, because they absolutely love their water areas and they will soak from time to time. So definitely something to possibly add for enrichment, and it's just an interesting behavior that I noticed with mine, and it seems a lot of others do it as well. One of the reasons I want to upgrade my enclosure for her so bad is because I just want to give her a larger water area. Because she has this little tub and she like completely surrounds the entire thing, fills it out completely with her body. So I want her to have more water space. But yeah, it's definitely interesting. Something to be aware of, if your snake is doing it like incessantly, like always in the water bowl, it could be a sign that your snake has mites. So be aware of that. Check your water bowl. You may see like little black bugs in there. If you're seeing any of that, those are mites. And that's something that you have to deal with, and it's a whole mess and it's not fun. But it's perfectly normal for them to soak here and there without the possibility of having mites. It's just, if you see it constantly with any snake species, a lot of the times they will try to go and drown those mites themselves in the water bowl. So it's just something to be aware of. Number 5 is that Brazilian rainbow boas tend to prefer cooler temperatures. This stresses me out because, especially in the winter time, Bowie is just always in her cool side. I mean, not as much lately. She actually has been in her warm side this winter. But like in the past years that I've had her, she just always would want to be on the cool side of her enclosure. And then it's just a matter of making sure that the cool side isn't too cool, because you don't want them to get a respiratory infection. So that's what I would be stressed out about, because they just prefer those cooler temperatures. As it is, like their temperature requirement is normally 80 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit. And for them, I feel like they don't really like that unless it's really cold out and it's winter time, and then they'll want it. And that's what I noticed with mine, at least. I try to keep mine around 83 degrees. I don't even go up to 85 because she just doesn't like it and she will go to the cool side. So I keep mine around 83 degrees, which is significantly cooler than a lot of other snake species that you may be keeping. So they just really prefer those cooler temperatures. A lot of the time when you'll see them in the wild, again, they're either climbing in trees or they're burrowed in the ground, and it's cooler deep down in the ground where they're burrowing. So it is more natural for them, and that is what they like. You just don't want to be going below, like, I would say 70 to 75 degrees is like the lowest you could go on your cool side. You don't want to go any lower than that. But yeah, they're definitely going to always be on the cool side, and it's going to be a preference that you will notice with your snake. It's just how they are, and it's just it was abnormal for me because I keep other snakes as well, and I mean, Metamora also, she's weird. She like prefers 83 degrees on the dot as well. But then my ball pythons and corn snake, they're fine with like 95. So just different snakes coming from different areas with different behaviors. And this one is just interesting to me because it's something that's new that I had to deal with. So if you're noticing that your Brazilian rainbow boa is mostly on the cool side and never really on the hot side, just make sure that the hot side isn't too hot. Maybe boost it down a little bit to make it more comfortable for them. And then make sure that your cool side is not too cool. Number 6 is that they are very active hunters. One of my favorite things about keeping Brazilian rainbow boas is their appetites, because they will never, ever, ever refuse a meal. I have a very picky ball python that tends to not eat all the time, and he only eats live, and it's extremely frustrating when I get a live mouse and he will not eat it. And then I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm not going to keep a mouse. And then I have my little garbage disposal of Bowie, and then she just gets a little snack here and there every time Chaos doesn't eat, because otherwise I would have nothing to do with the mouse. But yeah, she is just always hungry. You have to be pretty careful with these guys at nighttime because they're always going to be looking for food. But it makes caring for them so easy, because I don't know if anyone else has experienced it. If you have like another picky ball python like I do, snakes that don't eat is just, it's stressful, because you know that they're healthy and they're thriving if they have a good appetite and they're eating. So it just reassures you as a pet owner that your snake is doing well when they're eating. And Brazilian rainbow boas always give you that guarantee, because they're always going to be eating well unless they are actually sick. If they don't have an appetite and they're not eating, that is a sign that there could be something wrong, and to see a vet immediately. When you have a happy and healthy snake, they're going to be eating without any problems, and it just makes caring for them so easy in that aspect. Number 7 kind of branches off from how great of eaters they are, and it is that they can be aggressive eaters, meaning that like at nighttime, a lot of the times I'll go into spray Bowie's enclosure. I do it every single night. Some nights she will just really think it's a feeding night and she will strike at me, and it's scary for me because it's dark in my reptile room at night. So sometimes I'll open her enclosure not knowing where she is at all, and then I'll just see a head shooting and I'm like, oh, there you are. It's because she thinks she's being fed. They're just very optimistic about eating, so it's something to be aware of. You don't want to just ever stick your hand in their enclosure, or especially at nighttime, like when it's a time that you would be feeding them, depending on your schedule and how you feed and everything. But for me, I feed my snakes at nighttime, so a lot of the times at night, if I'm going in her setup for something, she's gonna think I'm feeding her. So it's just something to be aware of, because you don't want to get nipped and wonder why that happened. A lot of the time, it's either gonna be defense or they're hungry. Those are the only 2 reasons that a snake is gonna bite you. Number 8 is that they are very active when handling. I'm sure you guys already saw that in the beginning. They are constantly on the move. They are pretty slow movers, which I appreciate, but it's constant. So it's something, it's a good snake to hold if you want a snake that'll just keep your hands busy. For me, I find it very relaxing. I think it's better than just a snake that just sits in a ball. I also don't like jerky movements of like some colubrids, but a Brazilian rainbow boa is just perfect for me because I like that they're constantly moving. However, I have a small reptile room and Bowie's constantly on the move, and she's long now, so I need to be careful so she doesn't end up in like my plants, or she'll tuck into the little spaces in between my enclosures. She's done that before and then wedged like the chubbier part of her body in there, and I couldn't just pull her out and I was panicking. So they're always going to be looking for new things, new smells, and they're going to be checking everything out. So taking them out can be a great form of enrichment, but they are fairly active, so it's something to be aware of. Number 9, I already kind of mentioned, and it is that they love burrowing. So again, I already mentioned this, but burrowing is definitely a big part of their behaviors in captivity as well as in the wild. So when you are keeping these guys in captivity, it's important to make sure that you do have a deep substrate area with a nice moist substrate. I like to put a lot of moss on top of my substrate. It is perfect for them to burrow into, and then when you mist down the enclosure, it'll hold on to that moisture and retain all that extra humidity for your setup for them. Any type of moss like that will be perfect for these guys, and it will allow them to burrow and make them feel more comfortable in the setup. Number 10 is that these snakes, from what I have noticed with Bowie, they recognize their owners. And a lot of people are shocked about this with reptiles, but like all of my reptiles, they know who I am. I'm the one taking care of them. I'm the one giving them food. And it's the same thing with snakes as well. It's funny because I will have people come over and they want to hold Bowie, and it's so funny because they're holding her and she always wants to come back to me. Like, she knows where I am in the room and she just wants to be on me. It's like, she's like, you're my mom, I'm gonna go to you. I find that very interesting. I don't know if anyone else that has kept them has noticed like a preference of being handled by their owners. But other than that, yeah, they definitely feel more comfortable. They know their owners. They know when it's time to get fed and all of that based on like if you're keeping a routine with them. They're very intelligent animals, and a lot of people just don't realize that when it comes to snakes. So it's a pleasant surprise, and it just makes you feel a little bit more bonded to your animal as well, because they're recognizing you and they are building trust with you, and it is a relationship. So it's a beautiful thing to establish, especially with any snake, because most people think that they are untrustworthy, but they can be trustworthy. It's just a matter of bonding with them and building that trust. So those are some behaviors of Brazilian rainbow boas. I would love to hear your thoughts on this, and I hope that this was helpful and gave you a little bit more insight into what it is like to keep one as a pet. And maybe if you're determining if you want to get one or not, this gave you a little bit more of an idea of what you want, what'll be good for you. But yeah, that is today's video. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I will see you guys in the next one.